During a holiday road trip, my boyfriend and my best friend tricked me into entering a remote, uninhabited area and then deliberately abandoned me there to fend for myself. I sighed as I watched the dust kicked up by the speeding off-road vehicle. What I didn't tell them was that the map in the car was upside down, and the SUV's fuel tank was nearly empty. There was no way they could drive out of this wilderness, and they would never know that the satellite phone was in my pocket. What's more, among the fully loaded trunk of supplies, there were several large, bloody chunks of yak meat. Since they'd devised such a cruel scheme to frame me, I can only return the favor by inviting them to dinner with a Tibetan blue bear. Of course, in the vast majority of scenarios, it would be them ending up as the bear's dinner. 1. Chinjia, it's just a seat swap. You're really being selfish if you won't even do that. My boyfriend Suha's angry voice rang in my ears. Today is the first day of our self-drive trip to Tibet, and this is already the third time Suha has argued with me today. Our first argument happened because Suha wanted a drink, and I didn't pass him his cup right away. The second argument happened because I was working on a proposal from the passenger seat, and he thought my keyboard was too loud. It was distracting him while he drove. This is the third time, and it's happening right now. We've only been on the road for an hour and a half when my best friend Suyuyu says she's uncomfortable in the back seat and wants to switch places with me. I'm sitting in the passenger seat because it's easier to work on my proposal here. I'm just putting the finishing touches on it. So I told Suyuyu that I'd switch seats with her once I'm done. Little did I know my words would instantly infuriate Suhao, who was driving. He pulled the car over right then and there and started yelling at me. It's really strange too. Suhao isn't usually a hot-tempered person, but I don't know if it's because he's been under too much pressure lately. He's always flying off the handle at me over the slightest thing. His personality has completely changed, as if he's suddenly become a different person. I glanced at the rearview mirror again. She made me argue with my boyfriend. As my best friend, Suyuyu should have at least said something to back me up, yet at this very moment, she showed no intention of speaking at all. In fact, a glimmer of schadenfreude flickered in her eyes. What is Suyuyu looking forward to? I was still lost in thought when Suhao, as if he couldn't stand it for another second, got out of the driver's seat and headed straight for my passenger side. I could almost predict his next move, unbuckling my seatbelt and pulling me straight out of the car. My brow furrowed instantly. Before he could open the passenger door, I stepped right over from the passenger seat into the driver's seat and sat down. My sudden movement caught both Suhao and Suyuyu off guard. Suyuyu asked, Jia, what are you doing? Suhao pulled open the passenger door, casually putting my laptop into the briefcase beside me. I didn't look at Suhao. Instead, I turned to Suyuyu with a smile and said, Yuyu, since the back seat is uncomfortable, why don't you take the front passenger seat? Let Suhao sit in the back. Suhao's mouth fell open, as if he was about to say something, but I cut him off in time. It's perfect timing. Suhao has been driving for so long, he can go rest in the back seat. I'll take over the driving from here. After saying that, I gave them a considerate smile. 03 My show of concern for Suhao and Suyuyu instantly left them both speechless. With no room for argument, Suyuyu feigned concern. So, about your proposal. No rush, I said with a smile. Suyuyu was clearly smiling, but the upturned corners of her mouth seemed a little forced. Suhao's face was a mask of frustration, but in the end, he held his tongue, emitting only a sharp, disdainful humph. Before swapping seats with Suyuyu, the argument settled. The SUV hit the road again. Suyuyu kept the mood light, acting as if nothing had happened at all. I wore a smile on my face, occasionally trying to talk to Suhao in the back seat, who clearly wanted nothing to do with me. It seemed I hadn't given the earlier incident a second thought, but inside, my internal alarm bells were already ringing loudly. Just what were Suhao and Suyuyu planning? When did this strange feeling start? Anyway, I thought it over carefully and finally pinpointed it. 1 month ago, for my parents died in an accident when I was in high school. After they were gone, they left me not just 2 properties, but also a sum of money large enough to secure my future. After going through such a major family upheaval, I never really put my heart into dating. Suyuyu is a colleague at my company. Since we often had meals together, we became close friends. At a department gathering, Suyuyu accidentally learned about my family situation and insisted on setting me up with someone. Coincidentally, I also felt it was time I enjoyed the experience of being in a relationship, so that's how Suhao and I got together. It's just that I'm not really experienced when it comes to romance, and I've been focusing most of my energy on work, so my relationship with Suhao has been moving at a snail's pace. It wasn't until half a year ago that I finally let my guard down a little around him, but this sweet life lasted less than half a year. Just a month ago, I suddenly noticed that Suhao and Su Yuyu were contacting each other more often during one of our dates. I accidentally caught a glimpse of Suhao's phone and saw some flirtatious chat history between him and Su Yuyu. It was from that day on that Suhao started arguing with me frequently. I thought he had grown tired of me and was even prepared to break up with him at any moment. To my surprise, just a week ago, Suhao suddenly suggested we go on a road trip together. He even paid out of his own pocket to plan the itinerary in advance and bought all the necessary gear for the trip. We're just waiting for the National Day holiday so Su Yuyu and I can set off. At the time, I thought Suhao still wanted to keep our relationship going, and I was even a little touched, but judging from today's little details, it seems like it was all just me reading too much into things. If it wasn't to keep our romantic relationship going, then could it have been about the money? 05 A sudden jolt shot through my brow. It suddenly occurred to me that 2 years ago, a couple and their friend were on a self-driving camping trip in Tibet when their friend was attacked and killed by a Tibetan brown bear at night. At that moment, a wave of intense cold surged up from my feet, instantly enveloping my entire body. It was at that moment that everything I couldn't figure out suddenly became crystal clear. Every single time we traveled in the past, who was the one in charge of the itinerary? Whenever I asked, Suhao would just say, "What does a guy like me know about making plans?" He'd just leave it all to me to handle. Su Yuyu would say that she's a careless and forgetful person, not as meticulous as I am, and that she trusts me. So, for every trip, I ended up footing the bill and doing all the heavy lifting. But this road trip was incredibly last minute. In fact, I didn't even know we were heading to Tibet for a road trip until the very moment we set off. Suhao said that he and Su Yuyu planned this trip together specifically to surprise me, which is why they only told me right before we were about to leave. They even said everything was already taken care of, so I could just relax and enjoy the scenery with them. You don't need me to prepare anything. Isn't that just a way to catch me completely off guard? My grip on the steering wheel tightened imperceptibly. No wonder they both looked at me strangely when I rushed to take the driver's seat. Could it be that Suhao was only with me for my money? A bitter, mocking smile slowly curved my lips. How utterly depressing. 6 That evening, we checked into a guest house in a small town. Suhao booked 3 rooms, claiming it was so we could all get a proper rest. Su Yuyu glanced at me and said, "Jia." Suhao means well. Her words were loaded with implication. With a calm expression, I smiled and said, "That's fine, we can all get a good rest tonight." Then, I asked as if it were an afterthought, "By the way, what's our route for tomorrow?" Suhao didn't say anything. Su Yuyu pretended to glance at her phone's notes, then said, "It's not settled yet. How about we figure out the specifics tomorrow?" I was about to say something more, but Suhao cut me off. "Let's worry about tomorrow. It's a road trip, after all. We can go wherever we want." I nodded. As usual, I didn't press for details, putting on an act of being utterly exhausted and even letting out a yawn. "All right then, let's all turn in early tonight." Taking the room key from Suhao, I leaned close to Su Yuyu's ear just before leaving and whispered, "Yuyu, you really must take a shower tonight." With that, I headed upstairs without even glancing back to see the expression on Su Yuyu's face. 07 My room is on the 2nd floor of the guest house, while Suhao and Su Yuyu's rooms are on the 3rd floor of the same building. We just arrived in the plateau area today, and anyone with basic high-altitude knowledge would avoid taking a bath tonight. But why did I say those things to Su Yuyu? Of course, I was certain that Suhao and Su Yuyu wouldn't miss the chance to be alone together tonight. As for Su Yuyu, she has body odor. She usually wears perfume, so most people wouldn't notice. Suhao went ahead and booked 3 rooms specifically for tonight. This scent becomes particularly noticeable during intimate moments. Despite Su Yuyu's extensive experience in high-altitude regions, would she really want to embarrass herself in front of Suhao? I don't believe she'll skip a shower tonight. That night, after washing up, I went to bed, slept soundly, and woke up the next morning feeling refreshed and full of energy. After breakfast, I waited for Suhao and Su Yuyu in the lobby. Even before they got close, I could see the exhaustion on their faces. "Did neither of you sleep well?" I asked pointedly. A flicker of something strange passed over Suhao's face. Su Yuyu's gaze drifted. "Maybe it's a bit of altitude sickness." Su Hao quickly chimed in, "Right, it's probably just a bit of altitude sickness." Even though both Su Yuyu and Suhao had experience living at high altitudes, they had spent nearly an entire year in lowland areas before coming to Tibet. If you take a shower on the first day, altitude sickness will definitely catch up with you. I really wanted to laugh, but I held it in. He smiled understandingly at both of them. "Since neither of you are feeling well, I'll drive today." Their expressions shifted slightly. I was especially concerned about the 2 of you. "Driving with altitude sickness is too dangerous. I'll go check for a pharmacy in a bit. You guys take some medicine and rest well in the car. Whoever recovers first can take over from me." "Okay." Suhao visibly relaxed, a look of relief washing over his face. Suyuyu also smiled and said, "Thanks a lot, Jia." Once we were in the car, I asked the two of them which route we were taking today. Without hesitation, Suyuyu pulled up the navigation and told me to just follow its directions. I glanced at the passing scenery, then suddenly turned to look at the two in the back seat. I stared at them for a moment, but saw nothing unusual in their eyes. That's exactly why I'm even more heartbroken. The destination they picked is a no man's land, and there are only 2 service areas along the way. Looks like they really want me dead, yet there wasn't the slightest hint of guilt on their faces for trying to kill me. We were together for over a year. A faint smile touched my lips, but my heart was breaking. 08 The 3 of us set out once more. I drove around the small town and quickly found a pharmacy. Suhao got off the car to buy some medicine for altitude sickness. After taking it, he and Suyuyu closed their eyes to rest. Meanwhile, I drove slowly forward, following the route Suyuyu had given me. Around noon, we pulled into a rest area to take a break. Suhao instructed me, "You go fill up the gas, Yuyu, and I will grab a bite to eat first." I nodded obediently, as if I had no temper of my own. As I parked my car, I spotted a young man sitting on the ground not far away. He was wearing a leather jacket, unshaven, crouched by the entrance to the lounge, with a few brand new English books laid out in front of him and a bag beside him that looked bloodstained. Seeing me approach, the young man asked, "Buying a book? Get a free map with every purchase?" I glanced down at the book on the floor and, after a long pause, asked, "How much is it?" 20, the young man said with a smile. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone to make the payment, then took from him an English book and a map. When Suhao and Suyuyu came back, I was sitting in the car flipping through this all-English book. Seeing this, Suhao asked, "What kind of book is this?" I smiled and said, "It's just a mystery novel, only written entirely in English." With that, I handed the book to Suhao. Suhao didn't even glance at it, and Suyuyu wasn't interested at all, so they casually tossed the book onto their seats. "Let's hurry up and finish the noodles. We need to keep moving and reach the next service area before dark," Suhao said. I tossed the book into my backpack and nodded. "Alright." 9 That evening, we reached the final service station on this stretch of road. After a night's rest at the service station, Suhao and Suyuyu seemed to have fully recovered, looking much more energetic than the day before setting off in the morning. Suhao and Suyuyu went to the restroom, while I struck up a conversation with the service station staff. As we chatted, the conversation naturally turned to today's route. The staff was really kind and carefully explained the road conditions ahead, urging me not to take the wrong route and absolutely avoid accidentally entering the restricted zone. You know, there's no cell service in the restricted zones, and it's full of wild animals like wolves and Tibetan brown bears. Super dangerous. I nodded solemnly after hearing this, noticing Suhao and Suyuyu approaching together. I raised my voice slightly to ensure both could hear. "Don't worry, I definitely won't take the wrong route, and I certainly won't accidentally drive into the uninhabited zone." As soon as I finished speaking, I clearly saw Suhao's expression darken as he approached. Suyuyu called out to me, "Jia, it's time to get going." I quickly acknowledged, bid a hasty farewell to the staff, and hurried toward the off-road vehicle. Once again, I took the driver's seat. I had just settled into the driver's seat when Suhao pulled the door open from outside. "Get out," he said. "I'm driving today." I didn't budge an inch, just said with concern, "But you still look like you haven't gotten enough rest today. Why don't you lie down in the passenger seat and catch up on sleep for the morning? I'll switch with you at noon." Suhao's brow furrowed instantly. It was clear he was on the verge of losing his temper. Suyuyu suddenly spoke up. "Suhao, why don't you go and rest for a bit? Once you're better, you'll have plenty of time to drive." They were about to enter a no man's land, and Suyuyu didn't want any unnecessary complications. Suhao understood the real meaning behind her words and reluctantly got into the passenger seat with a sullen expression. No sooner had he settled in than he pulled out a map and laid it over the car's display screen. "Follow this map today," he said. "Turn off the navigation." I asked in confusion, "Why, Suhao's face immediately twisted into an expression of impatience, his tone sharp. "Just do as you're told. Why do you have to ask so many questions?" I let a perfectly measured look of hurt flash across my face. "I just wanted to know the reason." "Suhao, have you been treating me worse lately?" Suyuyu suddenly spoke up. "Suhao, watch your tone. We haven't even managed to lure them to the uninhabited zone yet. Can't you just hold on a little longer?" Suhao turned back, caught Suyuyu's look, and had no choice but to swallow his anger again. He turned to me and said patiently, "You're overthinking it. I'm just still feeling a bit off. So I came across a bit harsh. Just follow the map I gave you. Yuyu and I planned this route in advance. It won't be wrong." I pretended not to have seen the look they exchanged, and just acted as if I'd been placated. "Really?" Suhao said. "Of course it's true. I nodded without a second thought and started the car 10 as the service area grew. Farther behind, Suhao and Suyuyu seemed to finally relax as we drove further. The number of accompanying vehicles along the way gradually dwindled. It wasn't until 3 hours into the journey that I spotted a fork in the road in the distance. A large sign stands at a fork in the road, no trespassing ahead, restricted zone with frequent wildlife activity. I glanced at the map and suddenly let out a puzzled huh. Is this map wrong? I slowed down and glanced over at Suhao. Suhao responded, that's right. My brows immediately furrowed. Is this the way to the zone? Exactly, Suhao said, even offering me a smile. Don't you want to go see some wildlife? I suddenly slammed on the brakes. They were both badly startled. Why are you stopping the car? Suhao demanded, his face full of anger. I tried to reason with him seriously. Suhao, didn't you hear what the staff said just now? There are a lot of wild animals in this uninhabited area. Wolves, Tibetan brown bears. They're all very dangerous. What if? Suhao cut me off directly. The whole reason I came to Tibet for this road trip was to see wildlife. If it wasn't for the animals, what would I even be doing here? Suyuyu chimed in, exactly, Jia, since we're already here, and we haven't seen any Tibetan brown bears along the way, why don't we try our luck in the uninhabited zone? But I was still a bit hesitant. What but? Suhao snapped impatiently, if you don't want to go, then get out. Suyuyu shot Suhao a glare. What are you talking about? She turned her head, her expression perfectly calm, even with a hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. Jia, just ignore him. Suhao and I planned this entire road trip route ourselves. Once we enter the uninhabited zone, there's a turnoff in less than 20 kilometers. It's an old, abandoned road, but it still connects back to the main highway. We just take that turn, and we'll be back on the highway in no time. There's absolutely no danger at all. I wavered a bit, looking at Suyuyu. Really? Suyuyu smiled at me. Of course it's true, Jia, we're going to see wildlife, not to throw our lives away. Why on earth would we put ourselves in danger? Suyuyu said this with complete sincerity. Had I not already known their plan, I might have believed it just now. After a long pause, I finally relented. Alright. But do you have a satellite phone with you? 11. Hearing my question, both of them subtly changed expression, and I didn't miss that flicker. I saw Suhao instinctively reach into his coat pocket. I calmly averted my gaze. Suyuyu said, oh, come on, we're not actually crossing a no man's land. Do we really need a satellite phone? Suhao snapped, why do you have to talk so much? Are you driving or not? If not, I'll take the wheel. Scolded by Suhao, I finally relented and muttered quietly, I'm just worried something might go wrong, that's all. Having a satellite phone would make me feel a lot safer. But since you've all said we're only going 20 kilometers before turning back, there shouldn't be any real danger. With that, I flashed a smile at the two of them and then started the car. I ignored the warning on the sign, a hint of regret on my face, as I drove the car deeper into the uninhabited zone. 12. The abandoned road, long untouched by any vehicle, was overgrown with weeds and strewn with gravel. Even modified off-road vehicles can be tricky to drive. We've been driving for nearly 2 hours, but we've covered less than 15 kilometers. I was driving, but I wasn't feeling anxious at all. My mood was actually unusually good, and I was humming an off-key little tune. But this move of mine once again angered Suhao. He snapped, could you just shut up? I glanced down at my phone on the car's display. Even though we'd only driven 20 kilometers, the signal was already flickering in and out. It seems Suhao has run out of patience, doesn't it sound good? I suddenly asked. Suhao spoke rudely, it's absolutely awful to listen to, then go die. 13. What? Suhao seemed caught off guard by my sudden remark. He turned to look at me, visibly startled. Suyuyu was also on high alert and didn't miss my words. She looked at me, surprised, and said, Jia, what's with that tone? In the nearly year I'd been with Suhao, I'd always bent over backwards to please him. Even when we argued, I was always the one to make the first move to patch things up. So, in Suhao and Suyuyu's eyes, I'm just a pushover they can boss around however they please. This sudden statement left them both a bit stunned, but after the initial shock, Suyuyu and Suhao both snapped back to reality at the same time. They were just looking for a good excuse to pick a fight with me, and didn't Qinjia just hand them the perfect one on a silver platter? Suhao reacted with intense emotion. Qinjia, I only said one thing, and you're telling me to die. How can you be so vicious? I used to think you were a kind-hearted girl, but now it seems I was completely wrong. Suhao was getting visibly angrier as he spoke, suddenly reaching out to grab the steering wheel from me. That's enough, you're not driving, pull over right now. I feigned panic. Suhao, what are you doing? I'm still driving. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, refusing to let go. Suhao had completely lost his patience. yanking the key out of the SUV and reaching down with his foot to stomp on the brake. Seeing Suyuyu sitting motionless in the back seat, he couldn't help but shoot her an annoyed glance. "What are you waiting for?" Suyuyu snapped back to reality and quickly reached out to pull me, but what she said was all for my own good. "Jia, let's pull over first, this is too dangerous." I'm not particularly strong, so I was no match for the two of them, but I'm also stubborn to a fault, and I refused to let go of the steering wheel no matter what. Suhao finally lost his temper, and Suyuyu was also worried that something might go wrong at this critical moment. Their gazes met in the air. Suhao was the first to act, pulling half of my body into his embrace and pinning my upper half with his arm so I couldn't move. Meanwhile, Suyuyu seized the moment to pull up the handbrake and swiftly turn off the key of the off-road vehicle. I writhed violently in Suhao's arms, my face contorted in apparent agony, until my hand brushed against a familiar rectangular shape. My eyes flickered as I discreetly tucked the object into the wide cuff of my windbreaker, then gave Suhao a sharp shove. 14. I finally pulled myself out of Suhao's arms and collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. "Suhao, have you lost your mind? You're the crazy one." Suhao glared at me with fury, then shot Suyuyu a quick look before opening the car door and stepping out. "Get out of the car." Suhao pulled open the driver's door. I gasped heavily. "What are you trying to do?" Seeing I wasn't moving, Suhao didn't waste any more words on me. He just reached over and unbuckled my seatbelt. "Get out. Who do you think you're giving that sour face to all day? I've had enough of this whole trip. I rented the car, I paid for everything along the way, and you still give me attitude every single day. Get out. If you don't want to be on this trip with us, then get down." Suhao grabbed my arm and started dragging me out of the car, and in that moment, I seemed to finally realize something. "Suhao, I'm just a girl, so of course I didn't have the strength to match Suhao's." He yanked me out of the car, then climbed into the driver's seat right in front of me and slammed the door shut. My eyes were red-rimmed, and at that very moment, I heard a distinct click, the sound of the car door locking from the inside. My pupils contracted, a flicker of fear finally surfacing as I reached for the backseat door handle. "Suhao, what are you doing? You can't possibly be thinking of leaving me here." I pounded on the car door, calling out for Suhao and Suyuyu in turn, but neither of them glanced in my direction. After a long pause, the driver's side window rolled down. Suhao tossed my backpack out, his voice thick with anger. "If you're so against traveling with us, then you can walk out of here on your own." With those words, the car window slid shut once more. Then, Suhao and Suyuyu completely ignored my desperate shouts and drove off in their SUV without a second thought. My agonized cries echoed through the silent, uninhabited zone for a long time, yet they failed to make the off-road vehicle a head stop. Only when the vehicle had shrunk to the size of a fly in my vision did I fall silent. I stood there quietly, watching them continue down their one-way road to death. Suhao and Suyuyu will likely go to their graves never knowing that I had swapped their map long ago. The map on the car's display was perfectly accurate for the first half of the journey, but after entering the uninhabited zone, at that fateful crossroads, the direction was deliberately drawn backwards. The path they believed to be correct was, in fact, a one-way road leading deep into the uninhabited wilderness. By the time they finally realized something was wrong, the SUV's fuel tank was already running on fumes. The remaining fuel was nowhere near enough for them to turn back, leaving them with no choice but to wait for rescue where they were. But when they went to retrieve their satellite phone to call for help, they would discover it had vanished long ago. Of course, they can stay in the safety of the vehicle and wait for rescue, but apart from a few large chunks of raw yak meat I deliberately packed, the only supplies left in the car were a small packet of bread. In such harsh conditions, the scent of raw yak meat would quickly attract Tibetan brown bears. How much longer can they survive in the car? 15. I suppressed the surge of joy inside me and tossed Suhao's satellite phone into the bushes beside the road. I then opened my backpack, fished out the satellite phone I had prepared earlier from its inner compartment, and dialed emergency services. The moment the call connected, I broke down in hysterical sobs. "Help, please help me. Can you come get me? I just had a fight with my boyfriend, and he left me out here in the middle of nowhere." Uncontrollable crying. In the quiet valley, only my cries echoed. It wasn't until a satellite phone call ended and rescuers finally got my exact location that I could finally relax and sit down in the middle of the road. Just then, the sound of a car approached from a distance. I waited quietly for 5 minutes before spotting the young man I'd met at the service area yesterday, pulling up in front of me in a customized off-road vehicle. The young man got out of the car, handed me a bottle of water, and stared at me with bloodshot eyes. After a long pause, he finally said, "You've been through a lot." I took the water bottle and gulped down a huge mouthful. The icy water stung my throat and completely shattered the emotions I had been holding back for so long. I covered my face, crouched on the ground, and sobbed uncontrollably. I did it, sister, I've avenged you. 16 It all started a few years ago. I was in my second year of high school when my family was struck by tragedy. My parents died unexpectedly. The compensation money they left behind was tightly controlled by relatives, and the series of blows left me utterly devastated. That was when I met my sister, Lynn. She had just graduated from law school and joined a firm, and her very first case was helping me secure compensation from a relative. Even though Lynn was fresh out of school, her professional competence was beyond doubt, coupled with the fact that I was the rightful heir to my parents' estate. We won the case swiftly, but the warmth Lynn brought into my life went far beyond just that. She is an incredibly kind person. Seeing how alone and adrift I was in this world, she felt for me deeply. During the lawsuit, she not only visited me often but also went shopping with me and listened to my troubles. She even arranged for her high school teacher's brother, Lin Chen, to tutor me with my studies in the darkest year of my life. Lin was the light that walked into my world. With Lin by my side, I gradually emerged from my dark days and successfully got into one of the top universities in the city. College life was comfortable, and I never lost touch with Lin. She was like a sister to me. In our free time, we'd go shopping together, play video games, or just hang out at my place, waiting for Lin Qian to whip up a delicious feast. I had already started making plans with Lin Qian for after graduation. I was going to sell the apartment my parents left me, buy a bigger place, and move in with her. Lin Qian agreed. Together, we dreamed about our wonderful future, but in the end, Lin broke her promise. A sudden, tragic accident had taken her young life. 16 When Lin told me of Lin death, I was in the middle of working on my graduation thesis. Hearing his words over the phone, I fainted on the spot. Waking up in the hospital, I immediately booked a flight for that same night and set off for Tibet without delay. It's a shame I never got to see Lin Qian one last time. Lin said, the way she looked in the end, I don't think she'd want you to see her like that. This man, who stood a full head taller than me, broke down in tears as soon as he finished speaking. I suddenly spoke up. I don't believe it. Lin was taken aback, then asked, don't believe what? I said, I don't believe this was an accident. Lin Qian isn't a reckless person. She knew this area had Tibetan brown bears. How could she possibly put herself in danger by camping in a place like this? Why was it just her who got attacked, while the other two traveling with her walked away unharmed? A flicker of emotion seemed to pass through Lin Qian's eyes, but in the end, he didn't voice it. He simply said, she's gone. You need to look forward. She often spoke of you. She truly thought of you as a younger sister. Once the funeral is over, you should return to school. I ignored Lin Chen's words, backing away several steps as I repeated under my breath, I don't believe it. I can't believe it. Lin Chen looked at me, wanting to call out, but I had already run out first. After that day, I've been investigating what happened. That's how Su Hao and Su Yuyu's names first caught my attention. I looked into their relationship and found out they're a couple. Lin and Su Yuyu were classmates, but they weren't particularly close. In fact, they once had a huge argument at school that many students still remember. Why did Lin suddenly agree to Su Yuyu's invitation to travel to Tibet? As a lawyer, Lin doesn't do anything without a purpose, so the reason she agreed to go on a trip to Tibet with Su Yuyu must be that Su Yuyu has some evidence she absolutely needs to obtain. But I've been unable to find this crucial clue for ages. 17 Lin Chen knew I couldn't let go of Lin death, and he also knew I'd been secretly investigating Su Yuyu and Su Hao. He asked to meet me several times, hoping I'd let it go, move on, and just live my life. I looked into his eyes and asked quietly, have you let go yet? I know everyone says it was an accident. Even the police have officially ruled it as one, but do you really believe that? If you did, you wouldn't have resigned. Lin Chen's eyes snapped up. I looked at him, my gaze unwavering. She wasn't just your sister, she was my sister, too, brother. I called softly, the way Lin used to when she'd cling to his arm. Pleading, I said, I want to help you avenge our sister. Lin Chen stared at me for a long time, his eyes growing bloodshot, before he finally forced a single word through gritted teeth, fine. I finally relaxed and offered him a smile. Before leaving, I asked Lin Chen one more question. Why did Su Yuyu and Su Hao want to kill my sister? Lin Chen said, because after Su Yuyu joined the company, she embezzled funds. Lin Qian must have gotten hold of some evidence, but that evidence is gone now. I nodded. Whatever the reason, Su Yuyu and Su Hao must die. 18 After graduation, I joined the company where Su Yuyu works right away. Following my plan, I gradually became friends with Su Yuyu. As a lawyer, Lin must abide by the law in all her actions, but I'm not. I got close to Su Yuyu with only one goal. I wanted their lives. From that day on, my relationship with Su Yuyu grew closer and closer. It was right after I inadvertently revealed my savings that Su Yuyu started warming up to me more and more. A month later, I also smoothly got to know Su Hao through Su Yuyu during the year I dated Su Hao. At first neither Su Hao nor Su Yuyu had any murderous intentions toward me, but I want their lives. How can that work if they don't want to kill me? So I kept showing off my wealth in front of Su Hao, and flaunting my superiority in front of Su Yuyu. Finally, as I walked past Su Yuyu once more with the new Chanel bag slung over my shoulder, I caught the unmistakable glint of envy in her eyes. How could a murderer who's already used accidents to cover up killings and escaped justice possibly turn over a new leaf? What's more, they were well aware that I was the only person left in my family once I was dead. Su Hao, as my boyfriend, would have a clear path to inheriting all my assets. It was from that day onward that Su Hao began arguing with me constantly. The plan I had tailor-made for them was finally set in motion. 19 an hour later, to avoid raising the rescue team's suspicions, Lin Chen had to drive away. Before leaving, he stuffed a can of bear spray into my backpack, then a dagger. After a moment's thought, still uneasy, he grabbed a string of firecrackers from the car and handed them to me. You don't need to keep them on you, just toss them into the nearby bushes. I cut him off before he could finish. Bro, the rescue team will be here in 10 minutes at most. It's just 10 minutes, nothing will happen, you should go ahead. Lin Chen looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I gave him a reassuring smile. Don't worry, everything will be fine. After all, Lin Chen had driven this road alone countless times, all to ensure my safety. 10 minutes later, I was safely on board the rescue vehicle. I couldn't stop crying in the car, sobbing uncontrollably to the police officer accompanying me, pouring out my helplessness and fear, portraying to perfection the image of a desperate girl who had been abandoned. Nobody would ever doubt me. After I gave my statement at the police station, they let me go without a moment's hesitation. I booked the earliest flight out of Tibet. The rest is up to Lin Chen. After the National Day holiday, my phone remained silent, with no news whatsoever about Su Hao or Su Yuyu. But on the first day back at work, Su Yuyu's seat was empty. Suppressing my excitement, I returned to my own desk. After 2 more days of quiet anticipation, a news report finally claimed the top spot on the day's trending list. A couple died after being attacked by a takin while illegally driving through a restricted wilderness area. At the same time, I received a call from the Tibetan police. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. That night, I caught the latest flight to Tibet. At the police station, I was sobbing uncontrollably, heartbroken. The police pulled the dashcam footage, which also proved my innocence. Even if I hadn't had a satellite phone with me, I probably would have ended up like Su Hao and Su Yuyu. No one suspects me. That was the end of the matter. But the public discourse continued to simmer all evening. 20 Some called Su Hao and Su Yuyu foolish, while others said they had brought this misfortune upon themselves. But most people still said the deceased is gone, so there's no need for harsh words. How could we not use harsh words? Through the efforts of Lin Chen and myself, the video of Su Hao and Su Yuyu abandoning me in the wilderness and driving off alone quickly spread online. This time, the comment section was unusually unified, with everyone condemning the two as heartless and ungrateful. Some netizens even went so far as to speculate that Su Hao and Su Yuyu had done it on purpose, but he never expected to end up shooting himself in the foot. Harming others ultimately harms oneself in the end. Even in their gruesome deaths, they couldn't escape the online backlash. 2 months later, I quit my job at the company. On my last day at work, Lin Chen came to pick me up downstairs in his car. When I saw him, I casually handed him the documents I was holding and asked with a smile, "So, no more trips to Tibet?" Lin Chen nodded with a smile. "Yeah, I'll be staying home from now on, spend more time with my parents, and with Lin Chen too." I smiled and nodded, then went with Lin Chen to his place for a meal. Over the years, Mr. and Mrs. Lin have come to regard me as their own daughter. That afternoon, our whole family went to the cemetery to visit my sister. Finally, standing before Lin Chen's grave, I played a video for her myself. The video turned out to be the complete footage of Su Hao and Su Yuyu being attacked by a Tibetan brown bear. I sat before Lin Chi's gravestone, a faint smile on my lips. "Sister, I've avenged you." The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go anywhere. The next one is even better. 5 years ago, I took a liking to the male student my father was sponsoring, so they went to great lengths to groom him into a big shot in Beijing's elite circles. He ended up having an affair with the female student I was funding. A female student, wanting to completely replace me, had someone kidnap me and forced me to watch them making out right in front of me. Unable to bear the humiliation, I jumped from a building and took my own life. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back 5 years, to the day I was touring the school. This time, I pretended not to notice the charm he was deliberately exuding. I turned my gaze toward the melancholy boy sitting alone in the corner. Only I knew that he would one day become the true power broker of the Beijing elite. Wan Ningning, if you get bored, feel free to go explore on your own later, and if you're tired, just ask Uncle Wang to drive you home. Gazing at the familiar campus and hearing the same words from my past life, I realized I had been reborn. I had been reborn 5 years in the past, on the very day of the school tour. At that moment, a middle-aged man ran over with a smile and shook Dad's hand. Mr. Su, it's truly an honor to finally meet you in person. Thank you so much for making time to join us despite your busy schedule. You're too kind, Dean Zhang. I was just doing my small part while Dad was talking to the headmaster. A ball suddenly flew over. I instinctively dodged, but it ended up hitting the headmaster instead. The dean scolded, "Qin Yu, what are you doing?" "Qin Yu didn't seem to expect me to dodge." "I'm sorry, Dean, I didn't mean to." Qin Yu kept his head down nervously, his ears flushed red from being scolded. In my previous life, it was exactly like this. He was playing ball with classmates and happened to hit me by sheer coincidence. He immediately picked me up and rushed me to the infirmary. I was touched by his thoughtfulness and gentleness. Then I saw him shine on the basketball court. His natural confidence and sunny demeanor sparked, for the first time, a desire to get to know a guy. After that, I supported him until he graduated, then sponsored his studies abroad, and later sent him to pursue business management. It took me 5 years, during which I tried every possible method to groom Qin Yu into a big shot in Beijing's elite circles. In return, I got his betrayal. Not only did he cheat on me with the female student I was sponsoring, but he also drove the Su family into bankruptcy, and in the end, I was forced to jump off a building too. This time, faced with the same situation, I decided to take the initiative. "Young man, it's good to get some exercise between classes, but you shouldn't be playing ball by the roadside. It's far too dangerous." It was fortunate that it was the dean this time. If it had been a more frail girl, that hit could have landed her in the hospital. Then, turning to the dean, I said, "Dean, as part of the management, it's your responsibility to prevent such hazards from existing." The dean nodded repeatedly, completely convinced by the point I had raised. Yeah, Miss Su is absolutely right. I'll have him go play somewhere else right away." With that, he hastily shooed him away. Even though Qin Yu was filled with reluctance, he had no choice but to leave. He gave me one last glance before leaving, as if he'd never expected me to react like this. It's kind of funny when you think about it. I remember in my past life, he'd tell me jokes every day just to make me happy, always coming up with new ones, those cheesy pickup lines. The sweeter the better, the more he loved saying them. I have never been so utterly speechless as I am now. After he left, the dean and my father resumed their conversation. "Your sponsorship this time has been an immense help to our university. We've wanted to renovate our laboratory building for a long time, but the scale of the project was so large that funding was always an issue. We are truly grateful for Mr. Su's assistance. To be honest, beyond the facilities and teaching buildings, our university still faces many challenges. However, we are committed to doing everything we can to support every student who is passionate about learning." That student we just saw is quite a pity. His academic performance, character, and physical fitness are all top-notch. Unfortunately, his family circumstances are rather difficult. He was only admitted as an exception due to his outstanding grades. "We've heard that Mr. Su has sponsored quite a few students in the past. I was wondering if you might have any interest in doing so again on this occasion. In my previous life, it was only because of the dean's strong recommendation that my father chose to sponsor Qin Yu, and from that moment on, I held him in high esteem. The wrong choice started right here, and of course, I won't make the same mistake again." I turned to look at a young man sitting alone in the corner. He was so quiet, as if he didn't belong in this world, exuding an aura of cool, melancholic detachment. "That's the one. He might be of help to the Su family in the future." I pointed at him and said, "I think he's just fine." 3. The dean was actually put in an awkward position by me. "Miss Su, you probably don't know this student well. He's aloof, has poor character, and isn't interested in studying. Investing your time and effort in him would be a complete waste." I shot back, "Is his family well off?" The dean shook his head. "Exactly. Opportunities are equal for everyone. They aren't withdrawn just because someone has poor character or lacks a passion for learning. Besides, that's merely your opinion. As the dean, shouldn't you wish for every student's well-being?" The dean lowered his head, taken aback by the sharp retort. With poor academic performance and a disadvantaged family background, how could he possibly get into Kyoto University so smoothly? Dad must have thought of that too. His face darkened. "All right, as Ying wishes, we'll go with him." The dean called Jiang Yanqiao and the other two into the office. Not expecting Chinyu to follow them in, he looked at me with resentment, as if asking why I hadn't chosen him. Chinyu, I didn't call for you. Why are you here? Chinyu seemed to ignore the dean's words, running right up to me on his own, trying to get my attention. Miss Sue, I got top marks in every subject, and I love all kinds of sports, so why didn't you choose me? His eyes widened, a faint trace of sorrow visible in his gaze. How dare he even ask why, just looking at that expression on his face. You'd think he'd been given a second chance at life. In contrast, Jiang Yanxia's attitude was one of complete detachment, as if it had nothing to do with him. With a cold expression, I said, it's just that, compared to you, some people need it more. I continued, if I'm not mistaken, those shoes of yours are a limited edition, aren't they? They're incredibly hard to find on the market. Chinyu stiffened slightly, then explained, this is a fake I bought. It's worthless. I stared at him for a long time until he finally looked down. Guilty. We've lived together for so long. I know him too well. He's very proud and cares a lot about his image, especially when meeting important people. If he wants to get noticed quickly, he should start with his favorite sport. He must have spent a fortune on those shoes. He really will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Besides, this was the dean's decision. If you have any issues, take it up with him privately. The dean immediately understood and told him to leave at once. Only after he had left did I truly take notice of the man before me. He had chiseled features, deep-set eyes, and a prominent nose, looking every bit like a general who had stepped right out of the pages of a book. I finally understand why Chinyu is always jealous of him and can't stand the sight of him. It must be because Jiang Yanxiao has such a decent-looking face. For all right, forget about thinking anymore, just sign it, all of you. Jiang Yanxiao, who had been lost in thought, suddenly snapped back to reality, and his gaze just happened to land right on me. Are you sure? His voice was hoarse and low. I smiled and nodded. In my mind, he's a man with a sharp business sense. Give him an opportunity, and he can achieve anything. It's just such a pity that someone so exceptional ended up killing someone at the peak of their career. His status at the time even surpassed that of Chinyu. He should have had a brilliant future ahead of him, yet he was destined to spend the rest of his life behind bars. What a terrible waste. Miss Sue, this student is inferior to that Chin fellow in every way. Are you sure you want to choose him? The dean wanted to say more, but I was already growing irritated. So much for the rumor that Dean Zhang only has the student's best interests at heart. It seems that was mistaken. The dean quickly explained, that's not what I meant at all. I was just worried you might be misled, not having the full picture. Dad, I'm tired. I rested my head on my father's shoulder and let out several long yawns in a row. Dad felt really heartbroken when he saw that. All right, I'll have someone draft a contract and send it over later. If there's nothing else, we'll get going. We had just stepped out when Chinyu followed us. Miss Sue, I don't understand. Dad chuckled at that. Young man, if anyone should be confused here, wouldn't it be us? Realizing his rudeness, Chinyu could only watch me leave with a helpless look. Dad shook his head. Students these days never focus on what they should, they're always preoccupied with trivial nonsense. I kept silent, for I would not let him take anything more from me. 5. I'm the only daughter of the Su family and also a late-born child, so my parents felt it was hard-won and thus doted on me even more. For this very reason, my health has never been particularly strong, and from a young age, I developed a solitary nature, with very few friends to speak of. It wasn't until I met Chinyu that I truly felt he was my salvation, who knew every time we met was part of his elaborate plan. Standing by the window, gazing at the towering buildings before me, I felt as though I had regained something precious. Mr. Su, Jingda has an event this Thursday. Would you like to drop by and check it out? I gazed out the window at the scenery, remaining silent for a long while. Lu Xian, how long have you been with me? Since your internship at the Su group. Right up to the present. President Su, I nodded. Assistant Lu, from now on, we should prioritize participating in these kinds of charitable events. Please decline any dinner invitations that aren't work-related for me. Lu Xian hesitated for a moment, looking somewhat puzzled. President Su, weren't you always uninterested in these things before? I explained, my father has been involved in charity work for many years. As his daughter, I naturally can't fall behind. In the past, my health wasn't good. Dad was always worried I'd overexert myself, so he only entrusted me with simple tasks. But he was also afraid my quiet nature and lack of social interaction would make me ill, so he would often arrange dinner gatherings for me. I don't need it anymore. After taking care of the small tasks at hand, I've been kept busy with work, either in meetings or on business trips, and life's been pretty comfortable until Chinyu barged into my office. Miss Su, I'd like to have a word with you. I'm rather displeased. How did someone like him get in here? Security, get him out of here immediately. Chinyu rushed forward. Miss Su, please, just give me 3 minutes. 3 minutes is all I need, he continued. I can offer you far greater benefits, if you support me. I promise I won't let you down. Please, give me a chance to prove myself. It has to be said, he's quite clever. He knows exactly what kind of character Su Shanying appreciates, but what he didn't know was that the old Su Shanying had already been killed by him. Besides, I know exactly what he's capable of. He's only become powerful because I've been behind the scenes giving him advice and strategies. Time's up. Security. The security guard dragged him straight out. I called the front desk and was told, no one will be allowed in without an appointment from now on. 6. Yet Qingyu showed no sign of restraint whatsoever. That afternoon, I got the news that Jiang Yanxiao had been beaten, so I hurried over. They even went out of their way to find a doctor to examine him. At least it was just a flesh wound. He had many old wounds on his body, in addition to the fresh ones he may not say it, but I know all the same. Qingyu was taking out all her anger on Jiang Yanxiao. Qingyu really doesn't know his own strength. You really do have the patience of a saint. Anyone else would have already gone at him. Jiang Yanxiao let out a wry smile. Can't help it. I'm still counting on graduating on time. So what are your plans after graduation? She probably needs to earn money to pay off debts first. But forget about me. Why would Miss Su even come here? Of course, I wouldn't tell him that. I've got my own people planted at school. I happened to be passing by and thought I'd check in to see how you've been these past few days, only to hear that you got hurt. He believed it to be true. I've never actually asked you, Miss Su, why you chose me. After all, my reputation at school isn't exactly great. Of course I know why he has such a bad reputation. Clearly it's because Qingyu has been spreading rumors everywhere. It was nothing. Just a small favor. Jiang Yanxiao seemed to be convinced once again. Miss Su doesn't have any hidden conditions, does she? 7. I smiled at him. Well, if you're up for it, I don't see why not. Jiang Yanxiao cleared his throat awkwardly, deliberately changing the subject. Why didn't Miss Su come to the school anniversary a few days ago? I'm getting on in years, so I'm not really suited for activities geared toward younger people. The air suddenly fell silent, but I noticed the tips of his ears had turned red. It made me want to tease him without even thinking. Suddenly struck by a thought, she reached to pull open his collar. That move definitely caught him off guard. Miss Su, please mind your manners. I just wanted to take a look at your peace buckle. He stiffened slightly, his face filled with confusion. How did you know I have a peace pendant? You forgot. Last time I saw it, I found it curious, so I took a few extra glances. Anyway, just make sure you don't lose this thing. Though Jiang Yanxiao didn't understand, she complied anyway. As long as the peace pendant isn't with Qingyu, no matter what he does, it won't make a difference. The car pulled up smoothly in front of Jiang Yanxiao's house. Before getting out of the car, I handed him a few materials on topics like economics and management, and even made a point of telling him to look carefully, but I never expected him to turn it down outright. Miss Su, you may not be aware, but I have no interest in this. Then just tear it up for fun. Then I slammed the car door shut and drove off in a huff. It turns out I still underestimated Qinyu's methods that day. My father came to me. Hey Ying, do you have any plans this weekend? A sudden sense of foreboding came over me. Then Dad went on, the Song family has found their long-lost child. If you have time, could you deliver a gift on my behalf? Suddenly, there was a loud buzzing in my head, and my thoughts came to a complete standstill. This is earlier than I had anticipated. In his previous life, Qingyu revealed his identity at Old Master Song's 90th birthday celebration, presenting a paternity test that left no room for doubt. With numerous media outlets present, he used public pressure to force the Song family to acknowledge their relationship, a tactic I had taught him myself. It's just that the big birthday is still about 10 days away. He's so impatient. I suppose he simply can't wait. As an old friend, I naturally have to give him a grand gift. I'll make him fall from the peak of his life to the very bottom, despised and cursed by all. That day, I brought along many prominent figures from the Beijing social circle to offer their congratulations. Not only that, but they also brought along quite a few friends from the media. Since the reunion was quite recent, the Song family was not yet ready to make it public, so when they saw the media showing up uninvited, everyone was stunned. Only Qingyu was all smiles. He rushed over to me. Ying, you came. I knew you couldn't let me go. Our actions were quickly snapped by the reporters. Even the other members of the Song family hadn't expected us to be in contact. I straightened his tie for him, putting on a show of that intense, push and pull kind of intimacy. I just want everyone to misunderstand our relationship. 9. As expected, within half a day, major financial platforms were all reporting on the collaboration between the Song and Su families. Meanwhile, Qingyu firmly established his position within the Song family. This young man is quite cunning. Ying, you should stay away from people like him. Dad saw the report and understood it at a glance. In my past life, Qingyu, in his quest for greater power, began to manipulate me and secretly transferred the shares of the Sioux Group into his own name. In the end, the Sioux Group went bankrupt due to his improper dealings. When father heard the news, he was so enraged that he couldn't catch his breath and died on the spot. I looked at my dad, who seemed so much older now, and my eyes welled up involuntarily. I grabbed him in a tight hug. Don't worry, Dad, I know what I'm doing. The past is still vivid in my mind. How could I ever let Chinyu off easy? I deliberately gave Chinyu the cold shoulder for a few days, and sure enough, he started to panic, searching for me all over the world until he showed up at the bar. Wow, you're usually so unflappable. What's got you tripped up this time? My friend joked. I swirled the glass of red wine in my hand and took a delicate sip, suddenly let out a cold snort. He doesn't deserve it. You have no idea how tired I am of looking at his face every single day. Just look at everyone dancing in this pool. Isn't every single one of them better looking than him? So, you regret it now? My friend pressed. No regrets at all. After all, I never agreed to be with him in the first place. It's all his one-sided obsession, clinging to me like a leech. The door opened to reveal Chinyu, his face pale and the corners of his eyes tinged with red. Like a wounded bird, he cautiously approached me and asked with reluctance, "It can't be. Tell me it's not true." Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, he started to panic. Don't be so cruel to me. Okay, if I did anything wrong, I'll change. I lazily lifted my eyelids, glanced at him dismissively, and said, "Sure thing. Why don't you go dance for us first? Then I'll think about it." Having the young master of the Song family dance doesn't seem quite appropriate, though I'd admit I'm kind of curious to see young master Song dance. Wonder if he's really not as good as those dancers out there. His friend's teasing made Chinyu flush with embarrassment. After all, he's a public figure now, so naturally he can't bring himself to do it. 10 Boring. I'm out. Charge it to me. I stood up and walked toward the door, with Chinyu following closely behind. Why are you humiliating me? His throat was dry. He took a sharp breath, eyes brimming with hurt. I didn't say a word, just gave him a cold, sweeping glance that left him visibly unsettled. Because in my past life, that's exactly how he treated me. I remember that time he got drunk, and I went to pick him up. I heard it with my own ears. He was mocking my age to the crowd, saying that just by looking at my face, you'd think I was old enough to be his mother. He also attributes his current career success entirely to his own hard work and knowledge. But he forgot, I used to be a socialite in Beijing's elite circles, the heiress countless people longed for. But after marrying him, she stopped managing the company, spent all day at home serving her in-laws, faced endless household chores every day, and simply had no time to take care of her own appearance. Besides, I'm only 5 years older than him, yet he treats me like an unattractive, middle-aged woman. Now it's just his turn to know what it feels like to be publicly humiliated. Jiang Yanqiao walked slowly towards me under an umbrella, and we prepared to leave on foot. But Chinyu, unwilling to let it go, shouted from behind, "Do you have any idea that the man standing right in front of you has killed someone before?" Jiang Yanqiao froze in place, fists clenched, lips pressed tightly together, her face pale. At that moment, we both knew for sure that we had been reborn with our memories intact. So what? That doesn't change a thing about what I'm going to do. Young Master Song, you'd best mind your words and actions, lest you one day lose that hard-won status of yours. After delivering my warning, I took Jiang Yanqiao by the arm and left. 11 I gathered a great deal of additional material and gave it all to Jiang Yanqiao. I knew it would be of immense help to him in the future. He claims he's not interested, but I know he'll end up watching it anyway. Right now, what worries me most is whether he'll end up repeating the same mistakes as in his previous life. Jiang Yanqiao's brow was deeply furrowed, a clear sign of displeasure. What? Still thinking about what happened earlier? He shook his head. Chinyu is a madman. You can't trust the words of a madman. He always wore a smile, but I knew how fragile he was inside. When I got home, Dad was sitting on the sofa. He had clearly seen the news about Chinyu and me, and his expression was grave. "I've heard about what happened between you and Chinyu. I'm getting old. This company will have to be passed on to you eventually. I just worry that after I'm gone, there will be no one left to look after you." I threw my arms around my father. "You'll live to be 100, Dad. I know you will." He ruffled my hair and said, "Chinyu is deeply calculating. You should cut ties with him when it's time to. But I think Yanqiao is a fine young man, destined for great things. If you're with him, he might just be able to look out for you in the future." "Dad, I don't want any impurity in my partner. It wouldn't be good for either of us." "Alright, Dad's getting old and can't handle things like he used to then." I got up and returned to my room, watching his slow, retreating figure. A lump formed in my throat. "Father, I'm sorry, I've let you down, but this is the only way I can protect the Su family, and protect you." 12 I was in the middle of a meeting when I got a call saying something had happened at Jiang Yanqiao's home. By the time I arrived, Jiang Yanqiao was standing there, utterly devastated, looking like a lost and forlorn soul. Seeing the blood on his hands, I was terrified he might do something reckless. He just smiled, almost like he was being coy. "You're here, I listened to you, I didn't fight back." After calming him down, I walked over to Mr. "Jiang, didn't I tell you not to come looking for him?" It seems my words went in one ear and out the other, but Jiang's father played dumb, saying, "Who are you? I don't even know you." A few days ago, fearing that the troubles at Jiang Yanqiao's home might affect him, I went to see Jiang's father alone and handed him some money, asking him to stay away from Jiang Yanqiao and her son. Now the money's all gone, but they won't own up to it. I let out an amused huff. "What if I tell the police you robbed and harassed me, but you gave me that money yourself, and who's going to back you up? We're not even related. Who do you think they'll believe, you or me? You dare set me up, you bitch. I'm his old man. Of course he should honor me." Suddenly, I found him somewhat ridiculous in a way that bordered on shameful. I slowly walked toward him, leaned in close to his ear, and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear, "Are you sure about that? If it turns out to be false, you'll be held legally accountable. Those people aren't as easygoing as I am. I've got a contract here. If you don't sign it, you know what the consequences will be." After taking care of things at Jiang Yanqiao's home, he went to discuss the partnership with Peace of Mind. I visited those tech companies you asked me to meet with. Things were going smoothly at first, but when it came time to sign, they all suddenly changed their minds. Business is like war, you never know the outcome until the very end. We had just gotten out of the car when we saw Qin Yu walking out of Xinjiang Tech, accompanied by a female college student. My eyes suddenly widened as I got a clear look at the other person's face. It's her, Xiaowan, or 13. I didn't expect them to meet so soon. As far as I remember, they were supposed to meet after graduation, but it's still less than half a year before they graduate. Back when Xiaowan was just starting her job search, she went straight to the Song group. With her outstanding personality and appearance, she caught Qin Yu's eye immediately and became his personal secretary. It seems they had known each other all along. I was the only one left in the dark. The CEO of Xinjiang Tech is a friend of my father's, but now Qin Yu has beaten us to the punch. I'm sure Qin Yu offered enough incentives to make sure he snatched it away. I guess there's no point in fighting for it anymore. Let's go. I noticed Jiang Yanqiao stealing a couple of extra glances at Xiaowan. What? Do you two know each other? I don't know her. If you don't know her, why were you staring? I thought you couldn't look away because she was so pretty. Her nose is clearly asymmetrical. She's obviously had work done." Then he added, "The reason I remember her so vividly is because she once had a crush on me. She made a bet with her friends about how long it would take to win me over. Well, but thinking about it, it's not surprising. After all, Jiang Yanqiao is the aloof beauty of Jing University. Who wouldn't want to take a second look? So why didn't you agree? I'm not into her. Yet she's got the same nostrils as everyone else. How come they ended up on top of her head?" After getting rejected, he went around badmouthing me, saying I wasn't good enough and had problems everywhere. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Have you ever considered that Qin Yu is targeting you specifically because of these reasons? It's only natural that he's got it in for me. After all, I'm better looking and a better student than he is. It suddenly dawned on me that his skin is even thicker than Qin Yu's, but seeing him talk so seriously like this is actually kind of cute. We get along really well now. Nothing like the awkwardness when we first met. We could still crack jokes now and then and talk about our future plans. 14. But the sudden scandal has thrust me back into the eye of the storm. Mr. Su, the public opinion is getting out of hand. Everyone's saying you're indecisive and trying to have your cake and eat it too. Get the PR team ready. This wave of negative press is clearly fueled by paid trolls. Find the ringleader and have our lawyers send a cease and desist. I knew it was Qin Yu's doing, of course, so I went to find him immediately. You're faster than I anticipated. So, you were waiting for me, weren't you? I'm here. Let's hear your terms. Qin Yu handed me a cup of freshly brewed tea. As you can see, the whole internet knows about our relationship now. If news about you and another man were to break at this moment, it would likely damage the Su family's interests. I suddenly let out a laugh. Qin Yu, I see you're worried about your standing in the Song family, aren't you? Therefore, a marriage alliance is our only, and most secure, solution. I will immediately withdraw all the news reports and clear your name. When necessary, I will always have your back. I took a casual sip of my tea. Fine. Qin Yu thought he must have misheard, as he had never expected me to agree so readily. After another half hour, I headed back to the office, but I saw a woman sitting in my seat. Mr. Su, she claimed to be your future mother-in-law, so we didn't dare to stop her. I shot Lu Xi a cold glance, and he lowered his head, clearly guilty. In the blink of an eye, I was standing right in front of her. Ma'am, if you don't move from my spot right now, I'm going to call security. Meeting her calculating gaze, A sense of familiarity from my past life washed over me. She was dressed in the latest fashion and had her hair styled, but still couldn't hide her shabby appearance. We'll be family soon. You're not really going to kick me out, are you? Family? I don't recall having a relative like you. She shook her head. My son is Chinyu. Aren't you my future daughter-in-law? I've seen the news about the two of you. I let out a cold laugh, amused that she was exactly the same as in my past life, just as old-fashioned and superstitious. I remember in my past life, after I had a miscarriage, my mother-in-law decided I was cursed, possessed by some evil spirit. She brought in a Taoist priest to perform an exorcism. It was then that my health took a turn for the worse, and I was left with a chronic condition. My head throbs terribly whenever it rains. Looking back on it now, it really wasn't worth it. Oh, you're sure your son is Chinyu? Because I seem to recall he's the heir to the Song family. If you're going to name drop, at least pick someone plausible. He's really my son. I'm not lying. I don't care what your relationship is. You've never needed to prove anything to me. Besides, the public already sees him as part of the Song family. If you keep making trouble, don't blame me for what happens next. After kicking her out, I grabbed my phone and started scrolling through the trending topics. Gotta admit, Chinyu's got serious skills. He wiped all my dirt clean without a trace. When Jiang Yanqiao found out I agreed to Chinyu's proposal, we had our first argument. 15, half a year passed in a flash. And I had thrown two major projects Chinyu's way in succession, which sent his standing within the Song family soaring. He vaulted into the position of the Song family heir. On my birthday, Chinyu proposed to me in front of everyone. News of the marriage alliance between the Song and Su families shot to the top of the trending charts. On the eve of the engagement, Jiang Yanqiao barged in. He demanded, "You don't love him. Why won't you leave with me?" I deliberately turned away. Feelings can be nurtured over time. I'm asking you one last time, will you leave with me? Seeing me remain silent, Jiang Yanqiao flew into a rage and punched the wall, not stopping until his hand bled as he left for the last time. The look he gave me was filled with sorrow and resentment. 3 months later, we held our grand wedding ceremony. Chinyu gazed at me with deep affection, and when the priest asked if we were willing, he answered I do without a moment's hesitation. Just as everyone was about to erupt in applause and cheers, a photo of Chinyu and Xiao Waner kissing suddenly appeared on the screen. There were even videos as long as 8 minutes. The crowd immediately erupted in discussion. At that moment, one person stepped forward and shouted, "He's a fraud. He's not the lost child of the Song family at all. I have proof right here." He showed the test report in his hand to the Song family. Mr. Song was so furious his face turned ashen. Without another word, he raised his hand and slapped Chinyu across the face. Chinyu stared at the scene in disbelief, then glanced at Song's father standing before him, utterly speechless for a moment. "Dad, I didn't do it. Someone is definitely framing me." He suddenly pointed at the man from before again. "It must be my second brother. He resents me for inheriting the Song family business, so he's trying to frame me. This will help him secure his own position within the family." "I framed you. Do you really think father is unaware of all this? He simply hopes you'll be a proper heir and not get your hopes up about anything else. It's you who has completely forgotten father's teachings." Chinyu couldn't believe it. He staggered back 2 steps, utterly devastated. He tried to make a run for it, but I stopped him. The bodyguard stopped Xiao Waner and pulled her forward. She dropped to her knees. "No, Chairman Song, please let me explain. There's absolutely nothing going on between me and Mr. Song. The Song family's conduct is truly disappointing. Elder Song, this matter will be thoroughly pursued by the Su family." "Ying, let's go." Dad just grabbed my arm and pulled me away, suddenly realizing what was happening. Chinyu cried out, "It was you, wasn't it? It had to be you. You're nothing but a venomous woman." Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control, Song's father personally handed Chinyu over to the police. 16. I walked alone under the beautiful sunset. Suddenly, a figure began to approach me slowly. After Chinyu left, that Xiao Waner was also sent away by old Master Song. Later, Yu's parents came to the Song family to make a scene, demanding his release. Still furious, old Master Song naturally refused to let him off and kept him locked up for a while longer. "You knew all along, didn't you, that you are actually the Song family heir?" Jiang Yanqiao didn't shy away from it. "I had an inkling when you asked me about the peace buckle, but I didn't want to bother him, especially since he never acknowledged me in the first place." "Exactly, even though Mr. Song knew from the very beginning that Chinyu was an imposter, he never exposed him. In fact, he even allowed him to take the position of heir. Furthermore, I also knew that Mr. Song was aware of the affair between Chinyu and Xiao Waner all along, yet he chose to turn a blind eye to it, because he knew Chinyu wasn't truly a member of the Song family, so whatever trouble arose wouldn't involve the Song family. Even though Chinyu was the heir, it was still Song's father who held the real power. We know this better than Anyone. Suddenly, Jiang Yanxiao looked at me seriously, Ying, if I ask you one more time, will you go with me this time, or let me put it another way, will you be my girlfriend? Suddenly, the phone rang. Ying, come home quickly, your father, he doesn't have much time. My mind went completely blank, like a kite with its string cut. A dull roar filled my ears, and I couldn't hear a thing. By the time I got to the hospital, Dad was already gone. My heart is like dead ashes, and I stare blankly ahead. I never thought that even with a second chance at life, some things were still unavoidable. No matter how you try to fix it, it's no use. I slowly closed my eyes, my eyelids trembling uncontrollably. Your father passed away from a sudden heart attack. His health had been declining for some time before that. He didn't tell you because he didn't want you to worry. Clutching the report in my hand, I was choked with sobs. If only I had noticed sooner, maybe then this wouldn't have happened. Jiang Yanxiao held me, whispering words of comfort. 17. Returning to the office to sort through my father's belongings, I gradually sank into deep thought. President Su, please accept my condolences. Mr. Liu, I heard the song group tried to poach you a while back. Liu Xian was startled and quickly explained they did have that idea, but I turned it down outright. I nodded. You can go if you want to, Mr. Su, I really don't understand. Is there something I haven't done well enough? You shared my whereabouts with someone else, which is essentially a breach of confidentiality, or are you actually thinking of taking me to court? No, General Manager Su, please give me one more chance. I promise I'll never do that again. I truly know I was wrong. I never forgave him for what he did, but in light of his hard work for the company, I simply let him go. After all, the Su family cannot tolerate those who would betray their master for personal gain. After handling my father's funeral arrangements, I went to the police station. Seeing Qinyu in such a wretched state didn't bring me the satisfaction I had imagined. Wait, are you two really together? Go on, tell me, why did you take such an instant dislike to him from the very first moment you saw him? Anyone would be jealous of someone better than them, and you're actually asking me why? It seemed he had many questions on his mind. If you don't like me, why are you so willing to let the rumors about us fly? Why do you never bother to clear up those misunderstandings? I have never felt anything for you but hatred. Qinyu looked as if he had just heard the most ridiculous joke, his eyes and brows filled with utter disdain. Do you really think Jiang Yanxiao is some kind of saint? He's just like he was in his past life, a stubborn fool who insists on chasing impossible dreams, only to bring a wretched end upon himself. That sent a chill through me. What do you mean by that? You didn't know? Seeing my bewildered expression, Qin You burst into laughter. Even if Su Shanying is incredibly talented, so what? She'll still end up alone in the end. In that sense, what's the difference between you and me? Under my relentless questioning, I finally learned the truth. In our previous life, Jiang Yanxiao was framed for murder because my father, sensing Qinyu's unreliability, had secretly tasked Jiang with protecting me. This, unexpectedly, provoked Qinyu's resentment, so he has been by my side for both lifetimes. Just as I stepped outside the main gate, a heavy snow began to fall. Jiang Yanxiao walked towards me, holding an umbrella. I believe this reunion of ours is no coincidence, it's fate, and also the fulfillment of our heartfelt longing. Epilogue. Jiang Yanxiao had no intention of returning to the Song family to acknowledge his roots, but the thought of becoming stronger in the future made him head back immediately. He was a quick learner to begin with, and in less than 3 months, he had already passed the successor selection process. Even though old Master Song was deeply dissatisfied with him, he couldn't withstand the collective pressure and had no choice but to hand over the Song family business to Jiang Yanxiao to manage. In less than half a year, under his leadership, the Song Group soared to become a leading enterprise in the business world. A few days ago, Xia Wan'er sent someone to find me. I was puzzled. What did she want with you? She's in a psychiatric hospital now, sent there by Song Run himself, probably hoping I'd come rescue her. So I turned the tables and cut off all her outside contact. If she's ill, she needs proper treatment. I laughed at him for still being as childish as a kid, but I like it. That night, we gazed at the stars together. If I hadn't come to see you that day, would you have never spoken to me again? Faced with the intensity of his gaze, I suddenly looked away. What day was it? I don't remember. That was the day we had our argument and gave each other the silent treatment. Seeing how earnest he was, I couldn't bring myself to tease him any further. Actually, if you hadn't come to find me that day, I was planning to finish up my work and then go look for you. Jiang Yanxiao feigned a hurt expression. Just as I thought, you love your work more than me. The end. Story 2. In the year when I was deeply in love with Xinyu, he died in a car accident. Everyone thought I would break down, but I neither cried nor made a scene. 2 years later, I met him by chance in a private room. Xinyu was passionately kissing a young girl in his arms. His friends came forward one after another to explain to me. Shinyu was seriously injured in the car accident back then and became a vegetable. He has just woken up and lost his memory. In order not to make you worry all the time, we didn't tell you. Shinyu pushed the girl away, came up to me, and frowned as he said, I heard that you are my fiancé, although I don't remember. For the sake of your lingering affection for me, I will fulfill the promise of marrying you. I smiled slightly and said, they are lying too. We don't know each other. Shinyu didn't know that on the day he faked his death, I received a video. In the video, Shinyu smiled and said to others, just the thought of having only Yuin as my woman after marriage makes me unable to accept it. I'll fake my death and have fun for a few more years. You guys comfort her more and don't let her do anything stupid. He also didn't know that during the 2 years when he faked his death, I also had another man. The friends around were stunned for a moment, and then they all tried to persuade me. Yuin, how could you say that you don't know Shinyu? It was us who kept it from you, and it has nothing to do with Shinyu. Yes, Yuin, we did it for your own good. We were afraid that you would always be worried. Now that Shinyu has finally woken up, don't be petty with him. The private room was filled with accusations. Before I could speak, a sneer sounded first. Shinyu got up from the sofa, holding a cigarette between his fingertips, and said lazily and complacently, since we don't know each other, then forget it. At least I don't have to worry about taking responsibility. The girl beside him took the opportunity to hold Shinyu's arm, and shyly and nervously raised her small face. Brother Shinyu, I know you. She doesn't know what's good for her. I'm willing to marry you. Okay. Shinyu didn't say anything. Instead, he glanced at me indifferently, then put his arm around the girl's waist and leaned down to kiss her. The friends around saw this scene and uniformly blocked my view. They comforted me, saying, Yuin, Shinyu has lost his memory. You know that he used to love you the most. Yes, Inin, you should care more about Shinyu and let him remember you as soon as possible. Don't be petty. I opened my mouth, just about to say something to Shinyu's friends in front of me, when suddenly a sharp pain came from my stomach. My face turned pale involuntarily. I didn't stay there any longer and turned around and walked out of the private room. I walked so quickly that the people in the private room didn't even react. After my figure completely disappeared, they sighed towards Shinyu and said, Shinyu, you've gone too far. Yuin is really jealous and angry. Her face turned pale. Don't let her really leave you. The corners of Shinyu's mouth curved into a smile, and he sat back on the sofa. Yuin is easy to coax. We haven't seen each other for 2 years. I don't believe she doesn't miss me. Besides, I've lost my memory now. When I've had enough fun, I'll just tell her that my memory has recovered and that what happened before wasn't my intention. I don't even need to apologize, and she'll come running back with just a flick of my finger. After leaving the private room, I couldn't hold back anymore and squatted on the ground. The pain in my stomach came wave after wave, leaving me without the strength to go to the bathroom, until a shadow fell over my head. A familiar voice came. What's wrong? Are you sad and want to rekindle the relationship? I looked up and saw that not far away, He Yanzhou was leaning against the doorframe with his arms crossed, looking at me indifferently. He was dressed in black, with a straight nose, and his eyes were hidden under the dim light, making it impossible to see his emotions clearly. His thin lips under the light had a beautiful and neat line. At that moment, a feeling of being wronged welled up in my heart. Tears involuntarily fell from my eyes. He Yanzhou was extremely flustered and quickly put down his arms and walked towards me. Don't cry. I won't say that anymore. He had a good figure and was very strong. He picked me up from the ground with one hand. The scent of cedar wafted into my nose, tugging at my heartstrings. I wrapped my arms around his neck and said, my stomach hurts. He Yanzhou paused slightly. Is it earlier than usual? I nodded, and my lips accidentally touched his chin. I rested my head on his broad shoulder. He Yanzhou carried me to the car, turned on the heating in the car, and said, wait for me in the car. I'll go buy something for you. After saying that, he closed the car door and turned away. The dim street lights by the roadside poured down from above, outlining his tall and straight back. Not long after, a video popped up. It was from He Yanzhou. The brand you usually use is out of stock. Are there any of these that you like? I was about to make a selection when a familiar voice mixed with surprise came from the video. Shinyu walked into the store with his arm around the girl's waist. He sized up He Yanzhou and said in surprise, I invited you to drink tonight, but you didn't go, so you're here buying things for a woman. Are you having a video call with her? Let me have a look. Who on earth is this woman who has made our president? He enlightened. As Shinyu spoke, he wanted to step forward and grab He Yanzhou's phone. I subconsciously moved my face away from the camera, but Shinyu didn't get hold of He Yanzhou's phone. He Yanzhou just glanced at him indifferently, and Shinyu withdrew his hand. All right. Seeing how protective you are of her, Remember to bring her out and introduce her to us next time. By the way, Yenjo, I met Yuin. She went into the wrong private room and caught me kissing another woman. I was so scared. Fortunately, my other friends came up with an idea on the spot and said that I had lost my memory. I'll pretend to regain my memory after. I have some more fun, of course. You, my brother Yenjo, have also helped me a great deal. Back then, when I wasn't ready to settle down, it was thanks to you for coming up with the idea of faking my death. It worked so well. The phone screen shook, and the next second, it showed on my end that the call had been disconnected. Yenjo came back 10 minutes later. He didn't dare to look at me. He just handed me the things he bought and then quickly got into the driver's seat and locked the car door. I asked someone to send red date ginger tea. It's at home. Do you want to go back and drink it? There was a hint of caution in Yenjo's words. It made me feel a little amused. Yenjo was a well-known second generation in Beijing. He was also Xinyu's best friend in the past. When I went out to eat with Xinyu, Yenjo was always there. At that time, he was very cold towards me, especially when Xinyu and I were teased by the people around us to show our affection. He didn't even give me a glance. He even sneered and showed his disgust, so much so that people in that circle thought he hated me until later. On the day when Xinyu died in a car accident, I received a video. The video was sent by Yenjo. In the video, Xinyu smiled and said to others, "Just the thought of having only Yuin as my woman after marriage makes me unable to accept it. I'll fake my death and have fun for a few more years. You guys comfort her more and don't let her do anything stupid." But I didn't expect that this idea of faking his death was actually Yenjo's idea as well. This man is quite scheming. After arriving at Yenjo's villa, as soon as my feet touched the ground, I was picked up horizontally by Yenjo. After dealing with things in the bathroom, Yenjo put me on the bed and handed me his phone to play games. After drinking the hot drink, he skillfully took off his clothes, lay down beside me, and massaged my stomach. The light above our heads was like a thin veil, gently draping over his abdominal muscles. Every line told an unknown story, making people can't help but want to explore. I thought so, and I also did so. The look in Yenjo's eyes darkened, and he held down my restless hand. "Behave yourself." I didn't listen to him. He clasped the back of my head and pressed down directly. 2 years was enough for him to know my body like the back of his hand. When the passion reached its peak, he held my hand. He said in a hoarse voice, "Help me." I already knew Yenjo's endurance when I slept with him after getting drunk. When my wrist was so sore that it was unbearable, he finally finished. Just as he was about to carry me to the bathroom to deal with things, the phone placed by the bedside rang. It was Yenjo's phone. I accidentally pressed it and touched the answer button. "Yenjo, I'm planning to hold an engagement banquet with Liang Qian to make Yuin jealous. What do you think of this idea?" Seeing that I'm alive, Yuin didn't even come to care about my physical condition. She's just been jealous and angry and hasn't contacted me until now. It seems that after not seeing each other for 2 years, she has become more capable. I have to teach her a lesson and let her experience the pain of losing me again. I need to plan it. "Then you." Xinyu's voice came from the phone. However, before he could finish, his voice stopped abruptly, because I couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. It wasn't because of Xinyu's words, but because something had awakened again. It even moved a few times in my hand. I glared at Yenjo angrily and shyly. Xinyu's voice continued to come from the phone, and he exclaimed, "Good for you, Yenjo. What are you doing now? There's actually a woman by your side. Tell me quickly, is it the woman you had a video call with today? We hadn't seen each other for 2 years, and I just made a simple sound. Over the years, there have been so many women around Xinyu that he didn't recognize me at once." Yenjo obviously had no intention of paying attention to Xinyu. His eyes were fixed on me, full of affection. I gave him an angry glare, broke free from his embrace, and crawled towards the other side of the bed. But before I could crawl out even one step, Yenjo grabbed my ankle and pulled me back. Xinyu continued, "Good brother, you must bring her out and let me see who this woman is who has made you an iron tree bloom. Since you found someone, you can't refuse when I introduce girls to you in the future. By the way, I originally wanted you to help me invite Yuin to my engagement banquet, but considering that you've always hated Yuin." Before Xinyu could finish speaking, Yenjo impatiently hung up the phone. He threw the phone back on the bed and carried me to the bathroom with one hand. When we came out again, it was already 3 hours later. Yenjo had a satisfied look on his face. I gave him an angry glare and lay on the bed, not wanting to pay attention to him. I picked up my phone and took a look. I received a text message. It was from Xinyu's friend. 2 years ago, Xinyu had introduced me to all his social circles. "Yuin, Xinyu is going to get engaged to someone else. The time is in 7 days. Come and persuade him quickly. I don't want him to regret it when he regains his memory." This is not what he really wants. I took a look at this message, deleted it, and threw it aside. I'm not the kind of person who looks for trouble for myself when I have nothing better to do. What does Shinyu's engagement have to do with me? Yenjo reached out his hand to pull me into his arms. After I gave him a glare, I quickly moved to the side. I don't want to go on for another 3 or 4 hours. The news that Shinyu wasn't dead and was preparing for an engagement gradually spread. Many friends came to ask me about it. Some expressed their sympathy for me, some cursed Shinyu as a scumbag, and some just came to watch the joke. My college roommate, Liang Xiaoxiao, called me and cursed Shinyu loudly. When I first heard that Shinyu wasn't dead, I was so happy for you, but then I heard that he's going to get engaged to someone else. This is too much. Just because he lost his memory, he can betray you. You are his fiancé. Didn't anyone tell him that? No, I can't let my good sister be bullied like this. I'll go and find out where Shinyu is holding the engagement banquet. I'll go and vent your anger for you. I smiled and said, even married couples can get divorced, and an engagement can also be cancelled. My relationship with him ended 2 years ago. What he's doing now has nothing to do with me. Liang Xiaoxiao was still indignant. I just can't swallow this anger. You waited for him for 2 years. I've seen you stay single for these 2 years. I was eating a cookie and choked involuntarily. Who would wait for him for 2 years? It's just that my relationship with Yenjo hasn't been made public yet. Liang Xiaoxiao persuaded me a few more times and wanted me to go with her to settle the score with Shinyu. After I refused again, she let out a sigh. All right, then do you want to go out and have fun tonight? We haven't gotten together for a long time. I'll treat you to drinks tonight. Since I had nothing better to do, I agreed. Liang Xiaoxiao booked the place. She arrived earlier than me. Looking at the hotel in front of me, I was a bit confused. Didn't you say we were going to a bar? Why did we come to this hotel? Liang Xiaoxiao's eyes dodged a little, and she dragged my arm and walked inside. It's not safe to go to a bar at night. What if we get drunk and encounter danger? It's better to come to a regular hotel. We can also have some side dishes. It'll be so comfortable. Liang Xiaoxiao led me inside. When the door of the hotel lobby was pushed open, my face darkened. This was the hotel where Shinyu's engagement banquet was being held. On the stage, Shinyu had already reached the part of exchanging engagement rings. Standing opposite him was the girl I had seen in the bar last time. The girl looked at Shinyu with a shy expression. Shinyu frowned, and he glanced towards the door of the hall from time to time. When our eyes met, Shinyu paused for a moment, and then his frown relaxed, and the corners of his mouth curved into a smile. The MC standing beside them asked, "May I ask the groom-to-be, are you willing to be by the bride-to-be's side at every important moment in the future?" Shinyu glanced at me out of the corner of his eye, and then the smile on his face grew deeper. Of course, he put the ring in his hand on Liang Qian's finger, and the guests at the audience cheered. Give her a kiss, give her a kiss." Liang Qian's cheeks turned even redder, but she still took the initiative to stand on tiptoe and lean towards Shinyu. Shinyu didn't refuse. He put his arm around her waist and kissed Liang Qian passionately amidst the cheers of the crowd. I turned to look at Liang Xiaoxiao. Her face was evasive, but she still urged me, "Yuin, hurry up and go on stage to snatch Shinyu back. Shinyu is your man." I didn't say anything but just looked at her quietly. Liang Xiaoxiao and I met in college. We often went to classes together, had meals together, and went on trips during vacations. I really regarded her as my friend. At this time, the door of the hotel hall had been closed, and several of Shinyu's good friends blocked the door. It was obvious who they were blocking. "Yuin, I was just unwilling to see you being bullied like this, so I lied to you and wanted to bring you here to vent your anger. I'll go on stage and avenge you right now." Liang Xiaoxiao didn't look at me and was about to rush to the stage to cause trouble in a hurry. I stood there and looked at her calmly. "Liang Xiaoxiao, Liang Qian, is she your cousin?" "Right." I remembered that I had heard Liang Xiaoxiao mention it in college. She had a cousin. "What, did your cousin ask you to call me here?" Hoping that I would cause trouble and make a fool of myself, to set her off. As if I had hit the mark, Liang Xiaoxiao stood there dumbfounded. I sneered, "That kind of disgusting man. Just because your cousin treasures him doesn't mean others will too." I glanced around. There were many excellent wines, beverages, and pastries placed around. It was evident that a lot of thought had been put into it. One after another, they all wanted me to come. Since I was already here, I wasn't going to just stand around. I found a place to sit down, picked up a piece of pastry, and started eating it. As I ate, I looked around. Yenjo was on a business trip and didn't come today. At this moment, Liang Xiaoxiao rushed up to me indignantly and accused me. "Song Yuin, how can you talk like that? I think you're just sour grapes. My brother-in-law and my cousin have a good relationship. You're just jealous, so you're slandering my brother-in-law." I sneered, just as I was about to say something. Suddenly a crying female voice interrupted. The engagement ceremony on the stage had ended, and I didn't know when Liang Qian had come over to my side. The moment our eyes met, she pounced on me and grabbed my hands. Miss Song, please don't blame Xinyu. Xinyu has lost his memory now and doesn't remember you. He only loves me. It's not his intention. If you're dissatisfied, you can vent your anger on me. I'll let you hit me and scold me. I'll even kneel down for you. As long as you don't blame Xinyu. Liang Qian moved quickly, her hands tightly grasped my wrists, and her fingernails dug deeply into my flesh. The pain made me instinctively shake her off. My movement wasn't big, but she fell to the ground with a scream. The next second, I was pushed hard by someone. I was wearing high heels today. Being pushed like this, I lost my balance and directly sprained my ankle. Intense pain shot through me, and I almost burst into tears. Xinyu stared at me angrily. Song Yuan, you've gone too far. Who allowed you to bully Qian at my and Qian's engagement banquet? Do you think I don't exist? Apologized to Qian. The guests in the hall had already focused their attention on me as soon as I appeared. Now, they all gathered around, eager to watch the show. Someone said, Miss Song, you and young Master Shen are in the past and have no relationship anymore. It's not appropriate to make a scene at young Master Shen and Miss Liang's engagement banquet, is it? That's right. One should have self-awareness. Since he doesn't love you anymore, it's useless to force it. Moreover, a forced love is never sweet. Liang Qian fell into Xinyu's arms and sobbed with red eyes. She tugged at Xinyu's sleeve and said understandingly, It's okay, Xinyu, I don't blame Miss Song. It's normal for her to be sad and heartbroken when she sees you with me. It's also normal for her to blame and hate me. As long as she doesn't blame you, it's not your fault. After Xinyu said this to Liang Qian, he looked at me with a cold face. Song Yuan, no matter what our relationship was in the past, it ended 2 years ago. Now the person I love is Liang Qian. I won't let you off if you bully her. Apologize to Qian now. Where others couldn't see, Liang Qian gave me a provocative smile. I smiled slightly. Sure, I'll apologize. The next second, I directly slapped Liang Qian in the face. After slapping her, I thought it didn't look good, so I gave her another slap on the other side. Symmetrical. Liang Qian screamed and started crying. Xinyu was so angry that he raised his hand to hit me. His friend standing beside him quickly stepped forward to stop Xinyu. They said to him in a low voice, Don't go too far, or it will be difficult to end this situation when you regain your memory. Liang Qian can't compare to Yuan. Don't lose your head. Xinyu seemed to want to say something more, but his friend suddenly shouted, He Yanzhou, you're back. Come quickly. Yuan sprained her ankle. You should send Yuan back first. Hearing this, I turned my head and saw He Yanzhou walking over from not far away. In the back seat of the car, He Yanzhou had a serious face. He took off my shoes and placed my foot on his leg. Weren't you on a business trip? Why are you back? The matter ended early. I saw in the group that they sent a message saying that you were at Xinyu's engagement banquet. I knew that there was a group in He Yanzhou's circle. During the 2 years when Xinyu faked his death, he had shared a lot of his happy life in that group. I looked at the clothes He Yanzhou was wearing. It was still the same set he was wearing when I had a video call with him in the morning. According to his personality, he would definitely change into a new set of clothes after getting off the plane. It seemed that he didn't even go back and came directly here. I was tricked there by Liang Xiaoxiao. Liang Qian is her cousin. Looking at He Yanzhou, I thought for a moment and explained the whole thing to him. After all, although this man didn't seem to be talking much, he was actually thinking a lot in his heart. A good horse doesn't turn back to eat the grass. Xinyu and I had no relationship 2 years ago, and I won't go to disrupt the wedding. He Yanzhou didn't say anything, but his expression relaxed a lot. He took me to the hospital, had an x-ray taken of my foot. It wasn't particularly serious, but it wasn't mild either. I had to stay in bed and rest for a month and couldn't run around. When the doctor was putting a cast on my foot, I didn't know where He Yanzhou had gone. Outside the hospital ward, He Yanzhou stood in the corridor listening to the call from his assistant. Mr. He, the cooperation between the He family and the Shen family has been cancelled. There are still a few that haven't been completely separated, and they are speeding up the process. But Xinyu has already called to ask, saying that he couldn't get through to your phone. He Yanzhou said coldly, Don't pay attention to it. Yes. After the cast was put on, He Yanzhou walked into the ward and took me home. In the following days, He Yanzhou was afraid that I would be bored, so he stayed at home with me and didn't go anywhere until the day when the cast was to be removed. He planned to call the family doctor, but I refused. I hadn't gone out for more than a month, and I wanted to get some fresh air, so I planned to go directly to the hospital. When getting out of the car, I thought I could walk, but He Yanzhou insisted on carrying me into the doctor's office. I couldn't resist him, so I had to agree. But the looks I received from around made me feel a little embarrassed. And I buried my head in He Yenjo's arms in a bar not far from the hospital. Shinyu was irritably looking at his phone and kept dialing a number, but the phone was never answered. The friend sitting around asked Shinyu cautiously, "What's going on, brother? Where exactly did you offend He Yenjo? This matter has become too big." Shinyu reached out and rubbed his forehead. He didn't know where he had offended He Yenjo either. He actually made He Yenjo cut off all the cooperation between the Shin family and the He family, disregarding their years of brotherhood. Could it be because of Yuin? At the engagement banquet that day, someone asked He Yenjo to send Yuin out. He Yenjo had always hated Yuin. Could it be that he held a grudge for this matter and implicated him? It shouldn't be like that. Yenjo wasn't such a petty person. Yuin didn't have the qualifications to affect the relationship between him and Yenjo. Shinyu became even more agitated. This made him think of many years ago when he first started his business and encountered difficulties everywhere. Just like this, anxious, worried, and flustered. But at that time, Yuin had always been by his side, comforting him, enlightening him, and helping him come up with solutions together. Unlike now, Liang Qian would only keep telling him not to look at his phone and drink less alcohol. Other than these two sentences, she couldn't say anything else. Suddenly, he kind of missed Yuin. Just as Shinyu was feeling annoyed, a message suddenly popped up in the group. "Damn it, guess what I saw on my way here? Is this Yuin? Who is the man holding her?" Shinyu clicked on it. It was a photo taken at the entrance of the hospital. At this time, Yuin was being carried in a princess hold by a man. It was raining today, and the weather was a bit dim. Moreover, the man's back was blocked by the passing pedestrians. Just looking at the photo, it was impossible to tell who he was, but Yuin's side profile was easily recognizable. This made Shinyu freeze on the spot. Then, he sneered and smashed the wine glass in front of him. "She's getting bolder and bolder. What, did she deliberately find a man to make me jealous? Isn't she afraid that after I regain my memory, I'll think she's dirty and not want her anymore?" The friends around looked at each other and didn't dare to speak. After coming out of the hospital, I could already walk on my own feet, but as soon as I left the hospital, my phone vibrated, and I received a text message. I clicked to read it. It was a text message from a number that hadn't been active for 2 years. "Yuin, I've regained my memory. I didn't add a name to this phone number, but in the past, I could recite it by heart." He Yenjo also saw this text message. He subconsciously tightened his grip on my hand, as if he was afraid that I would run away. I deleted the text message expressionlessly and then smiled at He Yenjo. "He Yenjo, let's get married." After Shinyu sent the message, he threw his phone aside, closed his eyes, and had a smile on his lips. He could already imagine the scene of Yuin seeing this text message in his mind. She must be going crazy with joy. She would probably call him immediately, asking him with a crying voice where he was and that she wanted to come to him. Should he answer her first call, or give her a small punishment and answer it when she called the second time? She actually learned to find a man and made him angry. Shinyu made up his mind that even if Yuin called, he would ignore her for a while and then answer the call. Thinking of this, Shinyu picked up the phone again. When Yuin knew that he had regained his memory and came to meet him, she would definitely be so excited that she would cry. He bought the small cakes that she used to like to eat and planned to coax her. After Shinyu placed the order, he started to wait patiently, but even though the cake had already been delivered, Yuin still hadn't called. Shinyu frowned. What was this girl doing? She didn't even see the text message he sent. Shinyu thought for a moment and dialed the phone number, but it was prompted that the number couldn't be reached. He waited for more than 10 minutes and called again, but it still couldn't be reached. Shinyu had a bad feeling in his heart. He borrowed someone else's phone number and called. It was connected immediately the moment it was connected, before the person on the other side could speak. Shinyu couldn't wait to say, "Yuin, why did you block my phone number? Did you think I wouldn't use that number after the accident 2 years ago? Were you afraid that it would make you sad to see it? Silly girl, I'm still using it. Quickly unblock that number. By the way, did you see my text message? I've regained my memory." Shinyu leaned on the sofa with a smile on his face. He could already imagine the excited voice of Yuin after hearing these words, but it was a childish voice that came from the phone. "Are you looking for my little aunt? My little aunt is choosing a wedding dress." I didn't expect He Yenjo to be so fast. As soon as I said that, he took me straight to the bridal shop. We started customizing the wedding dress. Then he informed his family members and started preparing the betrothal gifts, invitations, the bridal chamber, and a series of other things. After taking the measurements, when I came out, I saw Tang Tang answering a phone call. Seeing me, Tang Tang ran towards me and handed me the phone. "Little aunt, I'm sorry, someone called you. I accidentally touched the answer button when I was playing games on your phone. I didn't mean to." I took a look. It was a strange number. There was a trembling and angry voice on the phone. "Yuin, you've gone too far." I was taken aback. Then I understood. I hung up the phone and rubbed Tong Tong's little head. It's okay, Tang Tang, you can continue playing. Shinyu never expected that when he called on the phone was connected, he would hear such a thing. He didn't believe it. Yuen must have found a child to deceive him. She was really going too far. Shinyu rubbed his eyes and eyebrows. When he saw Yuen, he must spank her bottom properly to see if she would know how to restrain herself in the future. This time, Shinyu didn't plan to call anymore. He wanted Yuen to know that he also had a temper. He would be angry if she went too far. He called on his friends around to drink with him, but no one moved. The atmosphere was a bit strange, which made Shinyu find it a bit funny. What are you guys doing? Why aren't you drinking? Yuen is just acting with me. It doesn't matter. When making the phone call, Shinyu didn't avoid his friends. He thought his friends were worried about him. At most, in an hour, when Yuen sees that I'm ignoring her, she will definitely put away her little tricks and call me. After saying that, Shinyu showed a complacent smile and raised his glass and drank it all in. One gulp, but his friends around still looked at him with strange expressions until someone handed their phone to Shinyu. Yenjo sent out the wedding invitation. He's getting married, and the bride is. On the luxurious and high-profile invitation, the names of two people were written: groom, Yenjo; bride, Song Yuen. Yuen's name was before Yenjo's. The wedding was set for half a month later. These half a month were extremely busy. At that time, when I said to Yenjo that we should get married, I thought he didn't have a sense of security all the time, and I wanted to use these words to reassure him, but I didn't expect that he would be so fast. On the day of the wedding, a lot of people came. I saw many familiar faces. The friends who used to hang out with Yenjo and Shinyu came to Yenjo and me with wine glasses, raised their glasses, and congratulated us. Shinyu also came. He stood under the stage with red eyes, his hands clenched into fists tightly, and he crushed the glass in his hand into pieces. Blood flowed down his hand, and I frowned when I saw this. When he saw me looking at him, Shinyu's eyes lit up. He looked down at his injured hand, and then a wronged expression appeared on his face. It's really unlucky to see blood on such a festive day. I retracted my gaze and said indifferently. Shinyu's face turned pale instantly. The next second, he was escorted out by the security guards. The wedding ended 2 hours later. It was really tiring after a whole day. Yenjo and I returned home, but we were stopped again at the door of our house. It was Shinyu. It seemed that he had been waiting here for a long time. When he saw me, he rushed up and tried to hold my hand, but Yenjo kicked him away. After getting up from the ground, Shinyu glared at Yenjo with anger in his eyes. Yenjo, you're shameless. Yuen is my fiancé. What right do you have to steal my fiancé? There was resentment and pain on his face, as if he had suffered a great betrayal. I regarded you as my good brother, and this is how you treat me. Shinyu was frantic and angry, and he started cursing Yenjo again. Yenjo frowned and was just about to call the security guards to drive Shinyu away, but I stopped him. I shook my head at Yenjo, and then walked towards Shinyu. A glimmer of hope appeared in Shinyu's eyes. Yuen. I raised my hand and slapped Shinyu in the face directly. I had wanted to slap this slap on Shinyu since he pushed me at his engagement banquet. Shinyu, no matter what our relationship was in the past, it ended 2 years ago. Now the person I love is Yenjo. I won't let you off if you bully him. Apologize to Yenjo now. These words made Shinyu freeze in place. He should be very familiar with these words. After all, he had just said something similar to me not long ago. Shinyu was stunned for a moment, and then he quickly said, Yuen, I said those words because I lost my memory at that time. It wasn't my intention. I've regained my memory now, and I've already made Liang Qian leave. She won't affect you and me anymore. I smiled. Is that so, Yuen? Believe me, this is true. After I regained my memory, I realized that the only person I've always loved is you. I have to say that Shinyu's acting skills were really good. Even now, he was still acting. I didn't want to waste more words with him, so I took out my phone from my pocket. I played that video. Just the thought of having only Yuen as my woman after marriage makes me unable to accept it. I'll fake my death and have fun for a few more years. You guys comfort her more and don't let her do anything stupid. As the video played slowly, Shinyu's face gradually turned pale. He shook his head at me and defended. This is fake. It's not real. It's synthesized. I sneered. Shinyu, I'm not a 3-year-old child. Shinyu subconsciously took a step back. His lips were trembling, and he tried to speak several times but couldn't. So, you knew it 2 years ago. I was too lazy to pay attention to Shinyu and turned around to leave, but he grabbed my hand. Yuen, since you knew it 2 years ago, why didn't you say it? If you had said it, I would have been with you properly. There wouldn't have been all the things that happened later. Shinyu's words really disgusted me. What kind of shameless person could say such things? When Yenjo saw that Shinyu was holding me, he kicked Shinyu away. With a cold face, Shinyu got up from the ground, clutching his stomach, and pointed at He Yenjo and said, "It's him. He was the one who came up with the idea of faking my death. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have faked my death. We would have been married long ago." Yuin, don't be deceived by He Yenjo. He's a very scheming man. He Yenjo grabbed my hand and subconsciously tightened his grip, although I already knew about this matter last time, but I hadn't talked to He Yenjo about it because I didn't think there was anything to talk about. It's just some small tricks he used to be with me. I held He Yenjo's hand in return and led him towards our home. He Yenjo waved his hand, and the bodyguards quickly came and took Shinyu away. The next time I heard news about Shinyu was 3 months later. This time, he was really dead. I heard that he died in a car accident. Liang Xiaoxiao sent me a lot of messages, cursing me for being heartless. Song Yuin, you bitch. Do you know what kind of life brother you has been living these days? He was in a bad mood, drinking and fighting, all because of you. How could you break his heart like this? Well, now he's dead. He had an accident while driving after drinking. Are you happy now? There were also many other unpleasant curses. I didn't care too much about these things because I was choosing a place for the honeymoon with He Yenjo. Extra chapter. He Yenjo. Probably when did I start liking Song Yuin? When I was in college. I was in the same university as her, and I fell in love with her at first sight. Before meeting her, I had never thought that such a ridiculous term as love at first sight would actually happen to me, but before I could express my feelings, I went abroad with my supervisor to do a task. When I returned to China and saw her again, it was at a drinking party. She became my brother's girlfriend. I knew her, but she didn't know me. I still remember that day. She stood beside Shinyu, smiling gently and introducing herself. "Hello, everyone, I'm Shinyu's girlfriend, Song Yuin." At that moment, I had a feeling that I didn't want this brother anymore, but I couldn't, because the two of them were already engaged. Song Yuin also liked Shinyu, and I couldn't do anything. I was really stupid. I clearly knew that they liked each other, but every time there was a dinner party with Song Yuin, I would go and torture myself. I endured it for a whole year until the news of their upcoming marriage came. I was also ready to let it go, but on the night before their wedding, at the last bachelor party organized by Shinyu said that he hadn't had enough fun yet. I knew that my chance had come. The end.